Well, folks, the good news is today I have showered before this video. I don't know why that's good. You guys don't care. But it's been a couple weeks. We've had a lot going on in our community, so I took a little break last week. But I'd love to show you some things that are going on my rookie garden and what I am learning. So let's go take a look. I am such a rookie gardener that I actually had never planted annuals before and just didn't realize that they were going to flower as frequently and often as they do, and they've just been really filling out and are so gorgeous. So I'm super happy with my annual bed. This is my asparagus bed. I don't know why I put it so prominent in my garden. I put one over here and one over there, which is funny because it's not a long season for asparagus, so I don't know what to do it out of season, but they are starting to come up. So this is my first year with them. You're not supposed to be able to harvest these for like 2 to 3 years, so we won't get a harvest this year, but I'm excited to see them come up. I have some backups inside that are bigger than this under the grow lights that I will fill in the ones that didn't come. And then our wildflowers, oh, this one fell down. There's a stake on top of it. Boop. But our wildflowers are starting to bloom. A few of them are, which is great to see. So hopefully this fills out. And these sunflowers that we got from my son's teacher at school just continue to beanstalk out of this place. So I'm pretty excited for these to flower and to send some pictures to his teacher. I think I mentioned on my last video that it's really hard to keep these watered. And with that and the heat, most of my lettuce has bolted, which means it has grown seeds and it is bitter and bad. This lettuce on the bottom, which needs water today, which I'll do next, but might make it, but everything else is gone. And I don't know what to do with these. I think lettuce is temperamental and doesn't work in midsummer. I have some more wildflowers inside growing that I got from the local electric company that was sending packets, so I might just fill this in with wildflowers and call it a day. One of the more exciting things that's happened this week is all my cauliflower and my broccoli, it now has florets in it. This is the first cauliflower that came, and it's already separating, and it's not that big. It's hard to tell, but it's not big. And so I think this one is a goner. I read online today to try to tie the leaves up around the small balls, and so I've done that with the rest of them. You can see that one over there is tied up, and we'll see if I can get some bigger heads out of those. And then these are one and done, so as soon as these go, that's crazy, but I'll have a big open space here to figure out what to do with. And then the broccoli is a little bit further behind, a little smaller, but also coming up. And we'll see, these plants went through a lot of stress. If you remember when I transplanted them out here, they all almost died. So I think that early stress adds to the ability for them to fruit from what I've read today. And so we'll see how big these get before they need to be pulled. Carrots are also supposed to be coming up in this bed, which is really exciting. And oh my goodness, let me tell you about this. I installed on my very own, minimal help from my husband, my irrigation system over the last couple of weeks. So I'm super jazzed about that. It's been working great and been just so nice for us to have. Maybe I'll do a video on how I did that later. This is supposed to be beets. The problem is I don't know what beets look like. So like, I'm not pulling a lot. I'm pulling things I absolutely know are weeds or I believe are weeds, but then if I'm not sure, I'm just gonna see what happens over here until I figure out what a beet looks like. My homemade trellis broke. So I found these awesome arched trellises, bamboo trellises for like $8 at my local garden store. Shout out to Eggplant Farm Supplies here in St. Paul. And so I just installed these yesterday, and I'll get closer here and show you how well the beans and the peas seem to be like. Here we go. Isn't that crazy? Like literally just installed yesterday and they're already kind of loving on them. So hopefully they'll all trellis up. I did tie that one up to try to get it started, but hopefully they'll all trellis and start going, and I'm excited about that. This one, I have like one cucumber plant that is just awesome. And then the rest of them are still pretty small. So we'll see, hopefully the rest catch up. But this one has been fun to watch, and it actually already has some blossoms on it. So I'm hoping for some cucumbers soon. Crowded corner is still a problem. So we're getting through it. Surprisingly, the beans are still trellising and behind this and seem to be like they might make it through. And some of these have blossomed into heads. This is another broccoli plant, but not all of them. I'm curious because the soil here is different and it feels like the plants have been growing a little bit differently. So it'll be interesting to see which ones produce better fruit. Most of my tomato plants that have grown tomatoes have been cherry tomatoes. This is actually an heirloom tomato variety called Berkeley Tie-Dye. It's just beautiful. And I'm starting to get my first flowers on this plant. So I'm pretty jazzed about having another variety of tomatoes starting to flower other than just cherries. And they all look, I mean, all my tomato plants are. I've recently learned that there's a determinate and indeterminate. Determinate tomatoes stop growing at some point and indeterminate don't. And it's pretty obvious that everything I bought is indeterminate because I think if I kept supporting these up, they would go. I mean, they would go the length of the house. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do and what I'm gonna call it for these, but they're all super healthy, which is fantastic. I wanted to show you this one vine of tomatoes. This is the first vine that I had, and so if you look all the way up at the top, you see your first one starting to turn red. So this will be my first kind of vine on cherries that we get, and I'm hoping here in the next week or so they will be ready. Every single one of my pepper plants now has fruit on it, and actually quite a bit of fruit. They're still not super high. I don't know if I should have cut the fruits off and let them grow a little bit taller, but they're all fruiting and the fruit looks great, so I'm gonna let it go and see what happens. The last batch of carrots that I planted, and we have a few germinating but not very many, and then our onions continue to look great. I think they're still a ways off from having healthy bulbs, but I believe they're still growing and doing great. All right, so the last major bed, and then I'll bring you over to the containers. Our bunch of onions are coming up, still young but good. This one cilantro plant could make cilantro for, like, I don't know, an entire village. So yeah, it's doing great. And this is one that my husband has been adamant that does taste different than the grocery store. Like everything else, he's like, it's easier to buy it, but this, it's delicious. This is a flowering thyme that apparently you can't eat. Good to know. Carrots that are getting smushed out by these incredible purple radishes. We've harvested a couple of these. I don't think I'm going to pull any more out today, but these are very close to being ready to go. We're choking out some of our extra strawberries here, which is fine because we have way more over there. And then this arugula, I'm going to harvest nearly all of this arugula today. We have 95 degrees in the forecast for tomorrow, and this is already getting, you can tell, kind of pretty close to flowering, which is when they say it gets bitter. So I want to get this out and use it. We're going to do a big steak salad tomorrow night. And everything else in here, I mean, the Brussels sprouts continue to be like, I don't know, the leaves are weird, something's eating it, but I can't figure out what is causing that damage, and it's on all of them now. So, and it's on only the Brussels sprouts, so I don't know what's going on here. We'll see how it goes. And then this is a little thing of peas that were pretty well established when I put them in and still aren't climbing the trellis well, but are producing fantastic. So they don't look great, but I don't want to take them out because I've learned that you need like 1,000 pea plants to make, one thing of peas. So I've been harvesting like 10 peas and then not knowing what to do with them. So I will take any pea I can get at this point. Nothing new on the swallowed tomato plants other than they're just growing to beat hell. So that's good. Not a lot of flowers on these ones. There's some flowers, but there's not a lot of fruit on these ones yet. So we'll see what that means and what we get. This is my experiment wall. So I had just some extra broccoli and cauliflower plants that I didn't want to get rid of. And then we planted potatoes over here because we're not sure this will be a permanent garden. We might use this as like an extra spot to park a car. So we didn't want to do anything permanent over here. And potatoes, you obviously, grab the whole thing out every year. So I think I do need to mound these up. I have some compost. Oh, I should show you the compost. Good transition. Check this compost out. I had the compost in these bins. My husband, and they're spinny bins. My husband mounted them on our fence because he was sick of mowing around them. And we just never got anything to break down when they were in there. But we use this to keep food scraps in because we still have a lot of critters in our backyard and we just don't need that. So But once it breaks down enough, we put it down here with like some dirt and some yard clippings, and we're finally getting some breakdown. So I'm super jazzed about this, and I'm hoping that in another couple weeks we have some great compost for the garden. This is another exciting development. I have a good friend that has raspberry bushes all along the garage at his cabin, and he tore some out and brought them home for me, and I just love it. So we put them here on the side of the garage. I'm hoping to make this like a blackberry, blueberry, raspberry patch with a bunch of different varieties over the years. And then we have our first rain barrel installed. So we got these rain barrels when we got the raised beds. The first order you do on gardeners.com, you get like 10 or 20% off or something. So these are super expensive, and we thought if we're gonna do in one big order, we knew we wanted these eventually, that it would be good to get the discount. So so we got a little hookup thing, took 2 tries to get the right size. I don't know that this hose will stay kind of free form like this, or if we'll do a hole in the side of the tank and have it go straight in. And then we're gonna just do a little soaker hose off the bottom into the raspberry bush. And we won't put a timer or anything on it, being especially with COVID and the fact that we're home all the time. We'll just come out here and turn it on. But it's nice to have a water source out here where there isn't access to a hose. Containers. So we had a bunch of cucumbers that I didn't think were gonna come up that did. And so now I have extra cucumbers. So I'm gonna see how they do in this container pot here. And then our strawberries. Oh man, our strawberries. They're so happy. They're so lush. They're all over the place. These ones need some water. But they're not getting big. Like, this is the biggest. Look at how little this is. It's like the size of a blueberry. And that's about as big as they're getting. And then they ripen. So let me see if I can example. Oh my God, this one's even worse. Like, look at this one. It's already turning red. And it's not even the size of a blueberry. Can't do this with one hand. You get my point though, right? Like, what the heck? So I went to the garden store. They thought maybe because this is the first year of them and that they're perennials, that maybe this year will just be bad and next year will be better, but it's really disappointing. We wanted big strawberries, and we are definitely gonna not get them this year. So that sucks. Our rhubarb is doing great. It's not getting as red as I like, just because I'm a visual eater. And I would love to see this a little bit more red, but that's fine. Maybe we'll add some compost to it and see if it helps. All right, and then these are kind of our extra stuff that we have. So let me just talk to you about what's going on here. So these are actually just radishes that we'll harvest and eat soon, and so these bags will then be empty. This is a bunch of extra flowers that I said I was probably gonna put in those salad bags. We have another set of green beans going because I wasn't sure if these would live behind that broccoli, and look at theirs, they just love each other so much. So these probably need to get put into a container as those other ones are going. I have some big 15-gallon containers coming for these. These are squash plants. I have a summer squash and a zucchini, and they get huge. And so I'm just gonna put those in containers on the deck and see how they do. And then this is our backup asparagus. And we did have a bunch of asparagus that didn't come up. And so I need to get this into the ground in those places. We definitely have extra here too. Like, we don't need all these, but I'm gonna try to get as many in the ground as I can. And if anyone's in the metro area and wants a few, let me know. All right, that's it for today. I'm sure that you guys all could tell I was showered because I did that one little intro and the one little outro. But I do feel better, and it's been a nice Sunday. We're smoking some meat and just hanging out as a family, and seeing some cool things happen in our community. So hope you all have a good week. My kids are going back to school tomorrow. It is like the most amazing thing ever. We're nervous, obviously, but we are also incredibly excited to get back to some normalcy. So I hope you all are well, and we will talk soon. And for those really paying attention, check out the grapefruit tree. Just getting happier and happier, and even this dead branch for so long, whoa, has some leaves. Super exciting.